Happy Friday, boys and girls. It's time for another episode of Ask Us Anything on the Goggler Podcast. Let's get right into it. At Andrew THY says, forget Godzilla X Kong. Not enough people are talking about Godzilla Minus One.
There's an easy reason for that.
No one's seen Godzilla Minus One, Andrew. No one's seen it.
Well, at least not in our region.
I think there are really bad cinema copies doing the rounds, but you really don't want to experience the movie on that. We thought we'd address this again because there was a recent article that kind of explains why Godzilla Minus One isn't available everywhere yet, and it has to do with Godzilla X Kong. So apparently there is some agreement about Godzilla movies being released in the same year between Legendary and Toho. And I think it just has to do with rights and publicity and marketing and all of that stuff, which is why, despite Godzilla Minus One doing gangbusters in the US box office, they actually cut the screening dates by the end of Jan or end of Feb, I can't remember.
Yeah.
And that was due to the fact that Godzilla X Kong was about to be released.
Yeah.
And so that is also why we are not seeing it on streaming services. Apparently, there is a Japanese Blu-ray that is coming out sometime this month or next.
That's going to be hard to get, though.
You can actually order stuff from amazon.co.jp and get it shipped to Malaysia, no problems.
Okay.
The only thing is, I'm not sure if it will have English subtitles.
English subs. Yeah.
But then again, the fan sub culture on Reddit is pretty strong. So someone might have a set of subtitles that you can download.
I don't know how I would stick a Japanese Blu-ray into my Blu-ray player and then download the subtitles.
This is what you have to do. You get the Japanese Blu-ray. You connect your Blu-ray player to your Mac. Then you rip the Blu-ray.
Oh, that's piracy, bro.
There's software that can do that. You're not distributing it, you rip it for yourself.
Oh, for myself. I see.
Then you play it on VLC player.
Oh,
and you add the subtitle file.
I see.
If you are very rajin, you can do that. But it's a lot of hard work.
I'll just wait.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to wait. We're going to have to wait until Godzilla X Kong does its run, is available digitally, and then maybe some streamer will get the rights for Minus One.
Yeah.
But for now, I'm sorry, you're just going to have to wait.
At Certain Tidal Wave asks, what's your take on movie novelizations? My take is I'm very confused by it.
Oh, Certain Tidal Wave. I am so happy that you asked this question.
Oh, God.
This is a big deal for me. I collect movie novelizations.
Of course you do.
I quite enjoy movie
Of course you
novelizations because I think they actually do a great job in expanding the story of the film and even making some films better than they are. So the first thing you got to know is that a screenplay isn't like a novel. A screenplay is essentially a blueprint.
Yes.
And writing a screenplay is very different from writing prose. So if you look at a screenplay, and I urge all film fans to go and check out the screenplays of their favorite movies, it's actually quite a learning experience. It contains instructions that the director and the crew need to follow in order to make this movie. It is a very sparse document. So it actually leaves room for interpretation and for creative input and all of that stuff. And the best screenplays do that. However, there are some movies that have been truly terrible. And the novels actually show you what they should have been. Case in point.
Okay.
Halle Berry Catwoman.
Okay.
Novelization by Elizabeth Hand. I have a copy. It is actually a really good book. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Novelization by James Rollins, who is a fantastic writer. And it's a really great adventure story. And so I think what these writers do is take the screenplay, but then fill in the blanks. Because a lot of the time, a screenplay will tell you that there is a chair in the room and then have dialogue, but nothing else. And what a writer actually does is, because a lot of the time, the writers of these novels don't have a movie to watch.
Yes.
So they're filling in the blanks themselves while maybe occasionally working with the screenwriter of the film. And so they use a lot of their own imagination based on the screenplay to actually tell that story. There are some novelizations that actually are somewhat different. So the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood novelization, and this is very rare that a director writes his own novelization, but Quentin Tarantino did. And the novelization of that is actually quite fantastic because Quentin Tarantino, being a scholar of the period, and he loves those kinds of movies at the time and obsessed with Sharon Tate and Manson, there's a lot more detail in the book about the history of not just that incident, but also Hollywood during that period. So the book is
Right.
actually really rich, and the movie is fantastic, but the book is really good and kind of fills in a lot of blanks with regards to history and all of that stuff.
I'm going to ask a dumb question. What is the fucking point? What is the point of making a book based on a movie that was based on a book? I don't understand the point of the novelization.
That rarely happens, though. There rarely is the book of a movie of a book. The only incidents I can think of is Blade Runner,
I was being glib, but
where the novelization of the film was written by Alan Foster, and only because Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep is very different from the actual film.
I don't understand the point of it. I don't understand why you need a novelization of The Omen.
Okay, so funny you mentioned The Omen, Bahir.
Oh, okay.
The Omen was actually
Why do I do this?
a rare instance that it was written by the screenwriter David Seltzer.
Right?
And for the longest time, I genuinely thought the movie was based on a fantastic piece of horror fiction because it's that good. It is super scary. The novel is really well written. And what's more, all of that bullshit David Seltzer made up. There's a whole bunch of biblical like writing that
Right.
not in the Bible. And it's so smart.
Did David Seltzer make you read the Bible to confirm this?
I didn't actually read the Bible to confirm it, but when I would check with people,
Yeah.
they would be like, yeah, bro, no such prophecy exists. I'm like, but he talks about Zion and the Jews and a comet going across the sky. It's so believable. And it's written really well. I'm like, well played, sir. Well played.
Well played, sir.
But I think originally it was done as a marketing tool. I think another reason is maybe directors and writers felt there was more to the story that needed telling. And so they would use the novels for that purpose. So Arthur C. Clarke's 2001 Space Odyssey was actually written in conjunction with the film, with Kubrick.
Right.
The novel didn't come first. The novel was actually released after the movie came out.
Right.
And so that was an interesting process in which both director and writer worked together to create one of the best-selling sci-fi novels of all time.
Yeah.
The other one that I really enjoy is Star Wars because Alan Dean Foster's original Star Wars novelization has a lot more stuff. Like Biggs is an actual character. There is a 2-page introduction in inverted commas by Princess Leia, extracted from the so-called Journal of the Wills.
Right.
So
right.
all of that stuff is in the book, and you're like, whoa, this really fills out the universe and the backstory.
Yeah.
And then even when you look at Return of the Jedi by James Caan, like that, a lot of people haven't read the novels. But if you read the novel, like Obi-Wan goes nuts on Dagobah, dude. Obi-Wan talks about Owen Lars being his brother. He talks about how Leia's mother died when they were 4 years old. He mentions Anakin falling into the molten pit. Like all of that is in the Return of the Jedi novelization. Of course, Lucas changes a lot of that in the
Yeah.
prequels, which I think
Yeah,
pissed
yeah.
off a lot of fans. But Obi-Wan just spills the beans.
What's interesting here, and knowing your weird love for movie novelizations, it now makes sense, right? I think this is what you're constantly preaching about, how a book and a film are two separate mediums.
Completely.
You're not saying that you want one to be more like the other. You're saying one needs to stick with what it's good at and leave the other bit to the other guy.
The perfect example of that is 2001 A Space Odyssey, in the sense that, honestly, you cannot appreciate one without having the other.
I saw the movie before I read the book, and it was strange.
The movie is fucking hard.
It's not just hard, but it takes a really weird turn, and you need the book to sort of understand why that turn happens and why it is relevant to that journey.
It's very rare that that happens.
I'm not having to go pick up all the novelizations
No,
of all
because
the
Arthur
movies
C.
I love
Clarke
now.
worked with Kubrick on that one, and so they really were complementary.
Right.
There are some examples of novelizations that do really good work by supplementing the movie, even though
Okay.
the movies are good. So Vonda McIntyre actually wrote a trilogy of novels with Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock, and The Voyage Home.
Sure.
It's one continuous arc, just like those 3 movies.
Yeah, yeah.
But what's nice about the novels, I mean, those movies are a lot of fun and they're great. But what's nice about the novels is that they have these really wonderful character moments in them, and you learn things about Sulu's first name, and like all of this extra detail
Yeah.
is kind of put in,
Yeah.
and that's really cool. Honestly, I don't think it's the kind of thing that stands alone. I don't know anyone who goes, hey, I'm going to read the Alien novelization, but never watch the movie.
It's supposed to be complementary. It's not a replacement for the other. I will say, though, I will say, a version of that feels like a replacement and less supplementary would probably be the graphic novel of a film.
Yes,
Because that's
you
very
get visuals,
image-based.
can? Yeah.
And even then, you cannot have massive pages of prose, right? And that really feels like I don't want to call it a gimmick because I've got a couple of those and I quite like them. It's fun. It's a fun thing to have, but it's not serious.
But if you want to start somewhere, I recommend the Alan Dean Foster stuff. Like, Alan Dean Foster must be the grandmaster of novelizations. He's done Star Wars, Transformers, Star Trek, Chronicles of Riddick. I think his best one is probably Star Wars and also Alien.
Right.
I mean, he's done multiple from the Alien universe, and they really are on another level. Like, we know the Alien movies go downhill after Aliens, but his novels are actually really good.
So you're saying his books were better?
That happens a lot.
To be fair, it feels like a book based on a really good idea is probably easier to get right than a film.
If you can find a copy, check out the Return of the Jedi one. That really blew my mind as a kid. I remember reading it as a teenager, and I was like, whoa, look at all this cool stuff. And of course, it was before the prequels came out. You had all this detail, and you do really well in quizzes.
So certain tidal wave, yeah, that was for you.
Thank you for asking that question. I was very excited when I saw that question. I was like, my time has come.
I just wanna point out Uma did not have any references. He's looking at me directly, just rattling these names and these titles and these books. That's how big of a nerd he is. So yeah, congratulations, certain tidal wave.
Thanks. That was a great question. Good job. You get a prize. I don't know what that prize is,
We'll
but
figure
you
it out.
get a prize. All right. I don't know how to say this handle, but OBKLim3R. We get this question a lot, and I think we're going to address it in different ways every time we get this question. And the question is, what is your opinion of the Malaysian film industry and its future? Bahir and I are pretty jaded about this thing because we've been doing this for a very long time, and we've kind of been observing the Malaysian film industry for a very long time. And occasionally there are bursts of joy where a good movie comes out and we're so excited, like La Luna or Abang Adek or something like that. But then we just get slapped in the face over and over again by shit.
I think there's an easy way to answer this question. Those films that we love, La Luna, Abang Ade, happens in spite of the film industry. The film industry itself has no future. I will say it right now. It has no future.
If it continues on this current path.
I don't know. I think it's going to continue on this current path, which means it has no future. And again, I'm not talking about the Tan Chui Muis, the Wu Ming Jins, the Liu Seng Tats, who essentially get funding overseas from festivals and make their film. I think that's great. Congratulations to them. I like a lot of them as people. Same with Abang Ade, same with La Luna. My problem is the film industry in Malaysia. We don't have a real professional film industry. We don't have a supportive ecosystem. And I think for that, I think the film industry will continue to suffer and eventually just die, I guess. Honestly, I don't give a fuck. Whatever, because they haven't done enough. The unions haven't done anything.
There's no strategy. There's no new thinking.
Yeah.
They keep pushing this idea of road to Oscars bullshit when you can barely make a watchable movie.
Yes.
Oftentimes when we have to review something, we bend over backwards to find something good to say because most of it is such amateurish nonsense. And anyone who tells you otherwise is talking crap. And so that's the problem. There is no new strategy. There is no new thinking. They're not taking the best practices from the region. And let me tell you, Indonesia, Thailand, all have fantastic practices that we should emulate and follow and copy. So you're right. We don't actually care because we're getting our entertainment, we're getting our stories from elsewhere.
I recently read a news article about how ours and Vietnam's cinema growth post COVID is kind of in the positive. However, Vietnam's growth is 92% or 95% almost to the pre-COVID numbers, and that was driven by their local movies. Say what you want about the movies in the region. They may not be to your style, they may not be to your quality, but it works for their audience. The problem here is I don't believe the movies here work for our audience. I don't think they work for anybody. They are just a rehash of slapstick comedy. They're rehashes of action. And I mean, the action we do remotely kind of well. Let's not get started about TV, but I think there is no industry here. We don't take the industry seriously. Just follow the FINA's Facebook page. All you get is, oh, look, we're doing an event for some guy. Oh, look, here's a buka puasa for our retiree actors. Oh, look, this movie is doing well in France, but it will never come here because there's some censorship requirements.
There is no effort to actually grow and develop talent locally. And unless we start doing that, we won't even have an industry to speak of. Everyone will just go overseas, find their money overseas, and tell those stories there.
I have no problem with that. I think you do what you gotta do. I applaud people who've gone overseas to succeed in the industry that they want to be in, because the industry here doesn't exist. So why, like when Michelle Yeoh, I mean, this is we joked, we laughed about this, but when Dato' Michelle Yeoh won,
Tan Sri or Dato'?
is she Tan Sri now? I
think
apologize.
Tan Sri.
Tan Sri / Dato' Michelle Yeoh.
Maybe, yeah.
We just call her the Queen, Michelle Yeoh.
That's right.
When the Queen Michelle Yeoh won her Oscar, there were some official think pieces, there were unofficial think pieces all over Facebook about how, oh, why doesn't she come back and help the industry? Fuck off. You chased her away. You wouldn't give her roles. You wouldn't talk to her. You typecasted her as the Chinese auntie. So fuck it. So she left. And now that she's gone and been successful, now you suddenly want her back? Nah, I say fuck it. I say she should stay overseas. Don't open a school. Don't open a fund. Fuck it. Just build a nice house in Ipoh. Come back when it's winter overseas and be done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At Daphne M asks, X-Men 97 is amazing. However, why do I feel that even with the advancement of technology in animation, the series in the 90s had a better look in terms of shading, details, and color? I don't know if it's just me. I think it might just be you, Daphne.
I disagree with you. I think I see where Daphne's coming from.
Really?
Again, I don't know the original.
Because I've been rewatching the original, and the new series does look better.
I think I know what it is. It doesn't feel like something like Spider-Verse or any of the newer animated shows. And I feel like part of that is because it's a style thing. I think they want to keep the style of it looking like a series from the 90s. And I think that's the point.
But Daphne thinks the series in the 90s had a better look. I don't know if I agree with that. I think, you know where the problem might be? I think it's what happens when you watch something from the 90s in HD or 4K. I think when it's upscaled, the lack of clarity becomes more apparent. It's like playing an old video game on a really fancy new monitor. And I think that may be the problem, but I think that's also what they were going for.
It feels like the new ones were done by computer to make look like 90s.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I think that's what I was trying to get at.
That could be it. The original series did have a slightly warmer feel to them.
Yes. Yeah, more organic. Was the original hand-drawn?
Yes.
Know? Okay, then that's probably it.
That's probably it. It was all hand-drawn. I think it was hand-drawn in Korea or Japan.
Well, the new one's made in Korea still, so...
Only on computers. And they get to send the files immediately as opposed to waiting weeks for the things to be mailed over.
And I think that's the thing. I think Daphne, that's what I agree with. I think I see that too. The new one feels computer. That's great when there are massive action scenes and Cyclops is doing a blast to stop him while he's falling. So all that looks awesome on the computer. But in the quieter bits, when it's just two people talking and my mind starts to wander a little bit, it's just like, this feels like it's done by computers. At Thush6303 asks, multiverse or monsterverse?
By multiverse, I'm assuming Marvel?
I also have fault with the question. I'm sorry, I'm hungry today. Today I'm hungry, so I'm a little on edge. I'm a little pissy today this morning. I'm a little hangry baby. I don't know why we have to be either. I love both.
Same. That was my answer. The both of us are at that age where we're like, you know what? We really love everything.
Yeah,
We're not fighting between what is better, Star Wars or Star Trek or
yeah,
Marvel or DC.
yeah.
Just make us good shit, keep the good stuff coming, and we will love it.
We're both politically and entertainment agnostics.
Correct. Franchise agnostic. That's what we are.
That's what we are. Yeah. Look, honestly, Multiverse or Monsterverse, I think it's been reported already. I have issues with Godzilla X Kong, but I still like the things in that Monsterverse, right? I like the idea of the Mutos. I love the idea of the Godzilla. Like I love Legacy of Monsters TV show. So I can not like that one movie, but I'm still a big fan of that franchise.
At Kailash Laxman asks, what are your favorite mafia-esque TV series or movies? Mine has to be Sopranos / Goodfellas. Too many, man.
We've got a list.
We've got a list. Like, definitely The Sopranos. It's one of the best of all time.
I'll give you 3 seconds, grab a pen and paper, because this is going to be a while.
Yeah. Godfather Trilogy. Narcos. Back when Netflix was still making culturally relevant things. Peaky Blinders. Boardwalk Empire. Sons of Anarchy. Sexy Beast is a fantastic film.
I haven't seen Sexy Beast.
The one with Ben Kingsley. You haven't seen that?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Because there's a new TV series that's not so good.
When I saw this title, the first thing that crossed my mind was, huh? Really? That reality show? No.
Oh, no, not the reality show. There's actually now a new Showtime TV series that's based on the film.
Oh, I'm sorry. Double wrong me. Okay, cool. Okay.
Not so good. But
Oh, okay.
the actual Ben Kingsley Sexy Beast, very, very good.
Yep.
Go way back, go further back. The Untouchables with Kevin Costner and Sean Connery. Robert De Niro as Al Capone, just amazing stuff. The early Guy Ritchie stuff, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, great. Justified,
Yes.
Casino,
Yep.
Heat.
I added the Borgias. It's not.
It is mafia.
It's the OG.
The OG mafia.
The OG mafia, right? The Borgias is fan-fucking-tastic.
I mean, if you want to know where the Cosa Nostra learned from, it's from
Yeah.
the Catholic Church.
Also, just the birth of banking in Italy.
Oh, that too.
That too. Yeah, fantastic. Yes, there are some obvious ones here. They're all like actual mafia gang type things. But if you want to stretch out the definition, the Borgias absolutely falls with that. For me, check that one out first. If the list is too big for you and you haven't seen a lot of the stuff on the list that we just named, check out the Borgias. I think that's a really interesting place to be at when you're thinking of the mafia-esque TV series, because it's not men in suits, they're not guns, it's political mafias, and that was great. At Pichunkit asks, what's your opinion on the Pooniverse?
Poo! That's what it is. It's absolute poo.
I'm assuming our friend here is asking regarding the murderous Pooh universe,
Yes, it's not the cute Disney cartoons.
not the one with Christopher Robin and
No.
Ewan McGregor, and no.
He's
Okay.
talking about Blood and Honey, the upcoming Blood and Honey 2, and all of their spin-offs.
My opinion is that is a cash grab, and I know of people who find those kinds of movies amusing. I do not want to know them anymore.
I find them utterly pointless.
I do find them pointless, but I also find them to be a sad excuse for a film.
Yes.
Just make a horror movie. Just make a goddamn horror movie. Adding the Pooh title to it does fuck all.
Unless you're going to be really fucking smart, lah. Which these movies are not.
Which these movies never are.
And I say smart in the sense that if you did something like Wicked, for example,
Yes,
where
yes,
you
I get that.
subverted
Yeah.
the story of the Wizard of Oz and done something really cool and clever, that's a different thing. This one is just garbage. It's gratuitous nonsense.
It's a cash grab, it's a marketing grab, and I'm not here for it.
Our last question is from at Lego Fan in PJ. Also, welcome back at Lego Fan in PJ. We haven't heard from you in a long time. But our last question is from at Lego Fan in PJ. He's got a long one. In your opinion, what's the film that should have been the final ever installment in an original screenplay sequential storyline franchise? So what he means by that is not Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter based on books, nor James Bond, which is mostly a collection of standalone stories. For me, It's Return of the Jedi because the sequel trilogy's overall storyline, I've only watched The Force Awakens, never seemed to be completely thought out from day one, and ultimately it's pockmarked with so many fan-pleasing callbacks. You are absolutely correct.
Correct.
And number 2, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I'm emphasizing last because Crystal Skull was a green screen bore fest tainted by the presence of Shia LaBeouf. Caveat, I have never watched Temple of Doom or Dial of Destiny.
Temple of Doom is pretty good.
Temple of Doom is pretty good. I'm going to agree with the Last Crusade thing. I think Indiana Jones should have stopped there as well. I didn't mind Dial of Destiny, but it was ultimately quite forgettable.
Yes.
I do have a list of non-franchise movies that should have ended a lot earlier than they did. Scream 2 was the last really, truly great one. Terminator 2, it should have stopped with that.
Yep. Agreed.
It just stopped with that. Die Hard 3, Die Hard with a Vengeance, was actually one of those movies that was better than Die Hard 2 because the inclusion of Sam Jackson and taking it out onto the streets was very, very clever. And that was a fantastic film.
Mm-hmm.
Taken should have stopped with the first movie. Everyone loved the first movie. And then, he's just the worst dad and husband in the world. His wife and daughter keep getting kidnapped and killed. Just like, come on, man. Liam Neeson, you're not doing your job.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay.
And finally, Shrek 2, which was the last great Shrek movie. Like 1 and 2 I found genuinely funny.
Yeah.
And I thought the new Puss in Boots thing was actually very good.
It wasn't funny. It was just a very good story.
Correct. But then all the other Shrek stuff and the spin-offs and the...
Do I have any? I thought I had one.
I mean, I have a few others, but they're all based on something. So at Lego Fan in PJ clearly states original sequential storyline franchise. Like Men in Black should have stopped with Men in Black 2, but it's based on a comic, so I guess that doesn't count under the strict requirements that he has set out for us.
I'm surprised you didn't put any of the aliens up.
So the only reason I haven't put Alien in, like right now in my mind, it should have stopped with Aliens. But that trailer for the new Alien movie has me very excited. So I'm holding back on including the Alien franchise because things might change later this year.
No, I disagree. I think you can include it because technically those are the only movies that are out.
In that case, yes.
So because then this new one is the relaunch of the franchise. So it's a new franchise altogether.
That is true. Okay, so in that case, yes, I'd say stop at Aliens. Alien 3 was people not trusting in Fincher. Alien Resurrection was all over the place. Ridley Scott's new Alien movies were just not Alien movies. They were deeply philosophical metaphors on Catholicism and the origin of man and all of this crap. And I was like, no, where are my xenomorphs?
Give me a face hugger.
Come on, give me my face hugger.
For me, Transformers.
Oh, that's a good one.
I would say 2.
Yes.
I thought 2 was fine. And then after that, I just could not.
It did go off the rails.
Yeah.
But rewatching the first movie, despite
I still
Shia
really
LaBeouf
like the first movie.
and Megan Fox, the first movie is actually really good.
And here's the problem, right? Like the Transformers movies I really liked were the ones with Megan Fox in it. So don't get me wrong, it's not Megan Fox that's the secret sauce in the Transformers thing.
But maybe it is, Bahir. Maybe it is.
Bay was still involved in 3. He wasn't anymore after that.
No,
right?
he still did the last night.
Did he do the last night?
Yeah, dude.
I think he phoned that in via Zoom, dude.
He probably did.
He had an intern just hold up a phone and she yelled action. But I agree with you, Lego Fan and PJ. I think I did watch all of the Star Wars and we at Goggler have very clear stand on that. Same with Indiana Jones.
And I get that there are a generation of fans that really enjoy the prequels. Every few years I try and put it on and I'm just like, maybe I'm not seeing something. And then I fall asleep.
I've said this before, but the best nap I've ever had was when I was rewatching Phantom Menace.
There you go.
Great nap.
Great nap, right?
Great.
You know what is
nap.
better than the prequels?
Okay.
The massive Taschen volume on how George Lucas made it. Like when you read that book, you are like, holy shit, this man is a genius. It just didn't translate to the screen. Like the ideation of everything in those movies with Doug Chang, with all the people he's worked with Ralph McQuarrie, I think was still working on those at the time. Just amazing stuff. And after I read that, I was like, oh, let me rewatch these movies with fresh eyes.
Fresh eyes.
And then I fell asleep.
Then you fell asleep.
Actually, you know what? One more.
I've got one more too. I just thought it.
Fast.
Oh,
Fast
yeah.
should have ended after the Brazil one. I think that was Fast 5, right? With the safe through the streets. Like, that was an exciting installment.
I liked that one. Yeah.
It was the first time they did the heist thing and they completely changed the direction of the films. And we were like, whoa, look, new life. And then,
I was going to say The Hobbit.
based on a book, though.
Was it though?
True.
Was
He
it though?
did manage to take 150 pages
Yeah.
and expand it in just unnecessary ways.
I've read the book several times. Legolas wasn't in there. So is it though based on the book?
There was no love story. There
No.
was no attack on that other place. There was,
Yeah. So I would say The Hobbit. In fact, The Hobbit shouldn't have started
should have been one movie like it was supposed to be.
by Guillermo del Toro and left it at that.
Just leave it at that.
Thank you very much.
And that brings us to the end of another exciting episode of Ask Us Anything. Thank you so much for your questions. Keep them coming. DM us. Don't just wait for our posts. At any time, you can ask us anything. You know how to reach out. Goggler MY are all of our social media feeds. You can also email us on podcast@goggler.my or send us a WhatsApp on the Goggler hotline 012-524-5208. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Goggler Podcast.